evening and welcome to tonight's Undaunted, bringing to the news untold stories. I am Oyi Opala. Let's begin. In a powerful display of unity and determination, the people of Libialem and Meme counties held successful draft events on Saturday, 13 September 2025. The draft, a vital act of community mobilization and self-determination, was met with overwhelming support from Ambazonia at home and in diaspora. Ma Judith Alondo of Libialem extended heartfelt gratitude to all draftees and supporters, hailing their commitment as a bold step towards liberation. The spirit of resistance was palpable, with thousands pledging their resources and loyalty to the cause, showing once again that the quest for freedom remains deeply rooted in the hearts of Ambazonians. The leadership of Libialem County expressed special thanks to the global Ambazonian family whose unwavering support made the weekend success possible. The draft not only serves as a fundraising mechanism but also as a symbol of unity in the face of adversity. Community leaders and citizens alike praised the organized efforts and the sacrifices of the people, especially those under intense military pressure. As bullets fall and villages burn, the resolve of the Ambazonian people continues to strengthen, and this year's draft stands as a testament to that resilience. Meanwhile, in stark contrast to the victorious mode in Meme and Libialem, Batibo was plunged into chaos and mourning. A massive IED explosion occurred in front of a Colonial military brigade, resulting in multiple casualties and widespread panic. While details are still emerging, the attack underscores the deepening crisis in Ambazonia and the brutal toll of the ongoing conflict. As Batibo blades, the dual reality of war and resistance becomes even more apparent. One where some communities celebrate progress and solidarity, while others suffer the harsh consequence of a relentless struggle for freedom. Now let's get the news in full briefings. But first, the headlines. Well, tonight, man killed and car set ablaze at Nkwen today, Monday, September 15. Also, corpse found abandoned near St. Mary Soledad Catholic Hospital in Bamenda. Also tonight, we'll take a look at the deadly blast outside Colonial Brigade in Batibo as it leaves multiple dead. Tonight, we take a look at this report that says the chiefs, politicians, and prelates are against Ambazonians' freedom, while on the African scene, WHO launches Ebola vaccination drive amidst new outbreak in DRC, Kasai province. Also, Netanyahu defends Qatar strike and vows for continued pursuit. Now, let's get the news in full briefings. A man has been killed and vehicles set on fire at Nkwen near Fuchu Junction in Bamenda. This report records it as what happened early this morning as the city grapples with the second week of an ongoing lockdown. Local sources report that several rounds of gunfire were heard before thick plumes of smoke drew attention to the scene. A yet-to-be-identified man was found dead and a car was discovered engulfed in flames. The incidences further heightened fears among residents already living under the strain of a prolonged conflict and enforced shutdown. Though the Ambazonian State Army is known to be enforcing Monday lockdowns, the government of President Samuel Sako has not announced or endorsed any current lockdown, raising questions about who is behind the latest violence. Sources close to the Ambazonia leadership have distanced the ASA from Monday's killing and arson, insisting their armed wing has no link to the incident. ASA is only involved in enforcing the Monday lockdowns, especially in response to La République Cameroon's attempt to resume schools, a source familiar with the group activities told reporters today. Now, the incident comes amid the intensification of an armed conflict that has begun in 2017, following a peaceful lawyers and teachers strike in 2016 against marginalization. Now, the crisis has since escalated into a deadly war, claiming over 60,000 civilian lives as at 2019, according to United Nations local estimates now. Plagues and death toll are definitely much higher. As the second week of the fake lockdown begins, Monday's incident marks a troubling turn, with residents calling for clarity and an end to the violence. Before we proceed with the rest of the reports this evening, we have Barrister Mbeseha in the house. Barrister Mbeseha, Happy New Week.
Thank you for having me.
Barrister Mbeseha, I couldn't hear you.
Thank you for having me.
All right, you're welcome. All right, Barrister, this lockdown that we are yet to, get those who are ordering the lockdown has since last week been giving a whole lot of violent reports. Just this morning, someone was killed this morning, though his identity is still not, given to the media. But one thing that we have tried to make it clear is that this particular lockdown that is marred by so many conflicts, so many violence, is definitely not from the government led by President Samuel Sako. And it's really sad that people would have to go through all of this, lockdown and facing violent cases as it is. It's highly sad. But like I was asking on Thursday, at this point, that this is coming to this point, knowing that the government of President Samuel Sako do not approve of the elections, which is, a few weeks to come. What would you at this point advise? Because the people are already locked down, which is not from the right authority.
It looks like we're confusing so many things. Yes, the government of President Sako did not authorize the extended, take note, the extended lockdown. Point two, the government of President Sako did not suspend the Monday lockdown, what has become known as Country Sunday. This government never suspended it because Country Sunday has become part and parcel of our lives since it was declared by Comrade Tassang sometimes in 2016 when he said, come Monday, you will know who owns Ambazonia or Southern Cameroon. That Monday lockdown, that Monday ghost town remains permanently in effect. So if somebody were going out today and trying to violate Monday ghost town in the belief that President Sako had lifted the ban, that was a mistake. The Monday ghost towns remain intact until maybe the solution is found. The intermittent, that is the prolonged lockdowns, which were geared at a specific goal. First, to prevent campaigns and possibly voting during the presidential elections. campaign and distribution of election materials. That's the prolonged lockdowns, which President Sako has said the time is not yet there. They will announce it subsequently. But for Monday lockdown, which is what they call Country Sunday, which has been respected even by the government of Cameroon, all their colonial offices in Ambazonia are closed, it remains permanently in effect. And so those guys, if they went out thinking that Monday was a free day, they made a mistake. They should have stayed home. But again, the government of President Sako has never, in any form or shape, said that people should be shot and killed, that cars should be burnt if you wanted to enforce the Monday lockdowns, or Monday ghost towns, or Monday Country Sunday. Either way, they mean the same thing. And so let people be careful. If it is Monday and you listen to this government, who have not suspended the Monday, Country Sunday, or whatever thing we call it, lockdowns, they remain in effect. And so don't take the risk. If somebody out of overzealous conduct shoots you down, don't blame the government. Because even our ASAs, for those who violate the lockdowns, you don't shoot and kill them. No. You are taken to discipline, they tell you are wrong, and you go along your store and go home. So shooting to kill in an attempt to enforce, most particularly the Monday lockdown, is not recommended. Other measures should be taken to dissuade those who wanted to challenge, those who want to show defiance from defying that authority. Over to you.
Yes, sir. But what we're trying to, just like the report indicated clearly, that the ASA is only responsible to ensure people do not violate the Monday goes down, the country Sunday, and all of that. There is this other prolonged lockdown that has been coming on since last week that we've been talking against. We remember also calling it off from this end when we heard from the home front that people are beginning to worry which of the lockdowns should they respect. So the incident of today is not about the ghost town. It's from the prolonged lockdown, what we can call the fake lockdown that has been existing since last week. So that's what we are trying to differentiate here. But I'm sure the people understand that the country Sunday is stable and static, as nothing changes about that. All right, in another gruesome discovery, it was made in the vicinity of the former entrance of St. Mary Soledad Catholic Hospital in Bamenda, with residents stumbling upon an abandoned corpse believed to be that of a man shot at close range. The body reportedly arrived at the location on a motorcycle, allegedly brought by still to be identified gunmen. The incident occurred near the former entrance of St. Mary Soledad Catholic Hospital, Bamenda, Mazam County. The identity of the victim remains unknown, but sources indicate that the individual was shot at a close range. Witnesses report that the body has been lying in the air since yesterday, sparkling concerns and calls for immediate action from local authorities. Residents are demanding swift action from local authorities to investigate the incident, identify the perpetrators, and ensure justice is served. The situation highlights the ongoing security concerns in Bamenda and Ambazonia in general, particularly with regards to the ongoing war. The discovery of the corpse has sent waves and shocks through their communities, emphasizing the need for enhanced security measures to prevent such incidents in the future. Rice and Mbeseha, dead bodies lying here and there. This is not the first time, and in your words, you also say it's definitely not going to be the last. But there are measures that can be taken. Is it possible that, and again, what do you think could be the idea behind dumping dead bodies in front of a church? What are they trying to achieve with such an act?
Well, I don't think anybody is trying to achieve any particular thing, but I think they indicate one simple thing. Be it Bamenda in particular or other towns, the discovery of dead bodies littered around has become normal. It is not the first time in Bamenda that people are found just lying in the streets, dead. Shot by who? By unknown people. What is the government reaction? We are investigating. What is the result of the investigation? No results has ever come out. And so, back to the story of Nkwen. The man was shot and killed. The cow that was burnt. If you put all these things together, you find that they speak only one language. Wonderful insecurity in town. What is the cause of the insecurity? The sure thing that anybody will agree is the war. That's become uncontrollable. There are people fighting for the war, rightfully at the ASAs. There are intruders there to make money. There are venturers put in place to fight, to sow havoc by the administration and the agents. And so that thing will not stop until normalcy returns. What do you mean by normalcy? When people can live in their houses freely? If you are attacked, you can move to the security or to the police and report. The police can effectively investigate and bring the perpetrators to justice. That is what is meant by normalcy. Is the government of Cameroon able to do this? They are not able to do it. It did not start today. But what has happened that you are reporting today is a stark reminder that for 9 years now, that has become the order of the day. And so, until you end that war, and you not end the war the way they are thinking, you end the war by going and sitting down and discussing the root causes of the problem with the people who are the right people, agreeing on solutions, and then the war will be called off. That's as simple as good morning. If this is too difficult for the government to know, I don't know what other thing they can understand in the world. It still have human scores. That's a simple thing that you can understand. If you live in a house, if you take Cameroon to be a family, if you live in a house, the largest family, the smallest family will have only one wife, maybe 1 or 2 children. That's a total of less than 5. If the last child or the elders or the wife or ruling, there's something wrong. You must sit down as a family meeting and say, what's wrong, Mama? What's wrong, Papa? What's wrong, my daughter or my son? What's your problem? Then the child will tell you, I didn't buy my school books, I did not eat enough food. Whatever reason, Mama did not have money to buy food. Daddy was drinking too much, and so on and so forth. That's how you end a family problem. By extension, that's how you end national problems. If they don't address the root causes, they are wasting their time. It has been shown they have reached their own limit. They are unable to investigate anything to the end. Deliberately or inadvertently, they don't even have the capacity to go around Bamenda and catch intruders if they wanted to. They don't have it. That's just a fact. Last time I saw somewhere in the north, 2.2 military men were taking the child to school. Why? Because there's insecurity. But how many soldiers would you have fought in the country, for example, in Ambazonia, if you want to police the schools? You take every single child going to school is accompanied by 2 soldiers. Is that feasible? Is that doable? Not doable. Not doable anywhere else in the world. And so, keeping a close eye to the real problem and pretending that it is back to normal is lying to yourself. But what happened in Bamenda, as I have just spoken, the corpse of the person, the unidentified man, dumped where? Dumped in front of the Catholic hospital. The Catholic hospital is a religious organization. The religious organization is headed by priests, is headed by bishops, is headed by archbishops. These are people who are living the reality of the war on the ground. Can they tell the truth to say there's nothing normal? If they tell this truth to everybody that matters, might be, that can compel the people to come to a table for negotiations. But closing your eyes to those things, forgetting that that man or that woman who was thrown, whose body is lying there, might be a Catholic Christian, might be a Baptist or Protestant Christian, might be just a Christian on the form. He's only one of the Trump the church every Sunday to give you money, to pray with you. And so if you forget their plight, if you ignore their plight, you have ignored the role of the church. The church was not made for the minority, for the majority, it was made for the suffering, for the helpless. And these are helpless people who have been shot around them. They have not shot the priests, they have not shot the bishop, they have not shot the pastor. So again, it speaks a lot to what is going on in Bamenda. But Bamenda is the tip of the iceberg because something might replicate itself in Mamfrey, it might replicate itself in Kumba, in Womb, and any other place in Ambazonia. It becomes normal. Killing people has become the normal thing. Running account has become the normal thing. Nobody, running account has become abnormal. You're not expected to run the account while somebody is dead. You then ask yourself the question, all these many people, policemen, soldiers, gendarmes, what are they doing in Bamenda? Where are these when all these things are going on? No answer, simple story, they are unfit to do it. That's the reason why we fight, and we'll fight to the end. Over to you.
That's a very huge question. Where are they? While we're trying to answer that question, or while they are trying to answer that question, Barrister Mbeseha, we have another report here, all the way from Batibo, and it says that in the early hours of yesterday, the quiet town of Batibo was shattered by thunderous blast of an improvised explosive device detonated just in front of the Colonial Brigade. The explosion tore through the area with violent force, leaving behind mangled metal, shattered concrete, and the lifeless bodies of several individuals who had been present at the scene. Smoke billowed into the air as panic rippled through the town, and questions began to surface, not just about who planted the device, but more pressingly about the people who died there. One of it is, who were they, and why were they in front of a military base in the middle of a war zone? In the aftermath, the details remained murky, but one truth stood clear. Those who lost their lives were civilians caught in a war they neither started nor fully understood, whether they had been taken there by force, rounded up in one of the frequent military raids, or simply found themselves in the wrong place at the wrong time. It was still unclear. What was certain was that they paid the ultimate price for a conflict that continues to grind through communities like Batibo with no regard for the lives caught in its path. In Ambazonian areas like this, where the state's presence is synonymous with militarization and suspicion, civilians often find themselves trapped between opposing forces. They are questioned, threatened, detained, or worse, used as pawns or shields in battles that have long since lost any moral clarity. And when violence erupts, as it did on this day, it is the people who bleed and mourn. This tragedy is not just another statistics in a protracted war. It is a cruel reminder that the suffering of the people has become routine, imbattable, as in many parts of the Ambazonian areas. The population continues to suffer not just from bullets and bombs, but from confusion, fear, and a deep sense of abandonment. They are enduring a war whose origins are distant and layered, and whose consequences fall hardest on those least responsible. This is a very sad one, Barrister Mbeseha, but one question kept ringing my mind even while processing this report, and that question is, how did all of them get to the military brigade? We are not yet certain of the number of casualties and losses and all of that, but we hear it's quite a number. And we are not yet certain of the number of military men, because if it's an explosive device or improvised device, we should hear a number of casualties from the civilians and as well as the military, but we are not sure of the numbers as this is still an emergent report. But then, number of civilians that died in that place, I hear, is quite alarming and it's strange. How did they get there? What do you think that they would have been coerced or forced or probably unlawfully detained or something. It's still sketchy, but what would you think would have happened while we try to get the right and the real thing that happened?
Let me say this. The right question is not to ask how did the people get there. No, that was Sunday. These are people who live in that area. They are free to move up and down. They are citizens of the area. So it's not about them, the individuals who were killed or wounded. Any of us could have been killed if we were passing there. So the people had the right to move up and down. That's their own community. But the question that we should be asking is why and how did it happen there? If the description of the story is true, he called it at the Brigade. The Brigade is supposed to be a post permanently owned and guarded by gendarmes, armed to the teeth. And so why and how could it occur at the gendarme brigade? Only two possible things can be said about it, two possibilities. The first possibility is that whatever thing they planted there was planted deliberately by the military officers there. They planted it themselves. Did they intend to kill themselves? Did they intend to kill people? Of course. But what is their goal? They planted it before their own office. Their goal is to tell the government that sent them there. Because among those people there, 10 gendarmes, 5, I don't know how many of them there. Not everybody is supporting what is going on. They were sending a message to Yaoundé that we are not happy with what you are sending us to do here. That's a coded message there. And the only way they could do it is to do that by themselves. Because if you stood up there and you say you are against it, the first punishment you have as a gendarme or military man, whoever that person is, you will be sanctioned. You are going to be punished for telling your superiors that they are doing the wrong thing. And so to show your anger, you plant that thing there. And then it detonates. Maybe it kills even some of the gendarmes or just the ordinary people. But the important thing is that it is planted at the brigade to show their own dissatisfaction with what is coming from the top. That is a possibility. The second possibility is that that bomb was planted by a stranger, unknown to the gendarmes or to the soldiers who are there. If it is the strangers who planted it, a stranger or strangers, it tells one story that they have lost control of everything. Because if a stranger can move right to their own office and plant a bomb, then it shows that they have lost everything. They cannot win any war there. They are not wanted there. They have lost everything possible. The environment is porous. The environment is dangerous for them even to be there. That is a possibility, a second possibility. But what do we take out of it? The third conclusion is what we said in the last segment. The conclusion is that these things have gone out of control. There is no normalcy on the ground, not even in the military barracks, not even in the police, gendarme, brigades, whatever thing you call them. There's no security anywhere. If the bombs can blow up even their own offices and kill people, if they could kill people and dump them in front of the hospital, if they could do all that, then the investigations that will never end can never come out with any result. Bottom line, there's no normalcy anywhere in Ambazonia, in general, and in Batibo specifically. And so, again, can you bring back normalcy there? You could, and you should, because there's only one way to stopping that type of thing. Either being planted by the people internally to show your dissatisfaction, or be planted by strangers entirely to show that they are not able to control even their own office. Either way, you have to address the issue. Address the root causes of the insecurity, address the root causes that have brought the abnormality that prevails everywhere in Amazonia today. And until you do that, everything you are doing, you're wasting your time. That's the take I have from it. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. We'll definitely get through with more of this as the report keeps unfolding. And yes, people should leave. But then we have this other report that goes straight to say the chief politicians and prelates are against Ambazonians' freedom. According to the voice of Ambazonians, it's saying that revolutions are born from deep wounds, grievances long ignored, and dignity systematically denied. Just as the American Revolution rose against injustice, the Ambazonian Revolution was sparked in 2016 when teachers and lawyers stood up against the erosion of the courts, schools, and identities. That protest revealed what many already knew, that they had been reduced to second-class citizens in a system built to erase Ambazonians. The movement, like others before it, had produced leaders of courage and clarity, none more than so than Dr. Samuel Ikomisako, who has carried the vision of a free Ambazonia through storms and betrayal and division. But no revolution is without its traitors. Figures like Choa Yaber, Sisik Ayuktabe, Chris Anu, Ebenezer Akwanger, and Ian Mariante, once seen as liberators, have chosen ambition over unity, becoming obstacles rather than allies. Traditional rulers, too, have bartered their cultural authority for political comfort, trading ancestral dignity for colonial favors. Senators and parliamentarians from Amazonian land have sat silently in Yaoundé while their communities suffer. Even the church, once a moral compass, has faltered. Archbishop Andrew Nkwen, Bishop Michael Bibi, and Reverend Samuel Funky have offered blessings to the regime or urged silence in the face of oppression, weakening the resolve of the faithful and confusing the moral landscape. History will not absolve these betrayals. Titles and influence may bring short-term rewards, but honor is earned through loyalty to the people. Like Benedict honored, Ambazonian traitors will be remembered, not as leaders, but as warnings. The revolution belongs not to them, but to the people. And though betrayal may delay, but the march to freedom, nobody can stop it. This is the voice of Ambazonia, and it ended this by saying that truth in resistance, clarity in crisis. But then, of course, you know that no one says it's better than Dr. Martin Mungwe. So let's hear the full report there.
This is the voice of Ambazonia. Truth in resistance, clarity in crisis. Today is Monday, September 15th, 2025. Today's editorial is entitled The Echoes of Betrayal, Chiefs, Politicians, and Prelates Against Ambazonia's Freedom. Fellow Ambazonians, revolutions everywhere follow a familiar rhythm. They begin with long-ignored grievances, grow into a demand for justice, and eventually confront powers that refuse to let go. The American Revolution in the 18th century rose against taxation without representation. It revealed that colonists were seen not as equals, but as second-class citizens. In Ambazonia, the grievances were even deeper. For decades, our schools, our courts, and our economy were stripped away and manipulated. When teachers and lawyers marched in 2016, they revealed the truth. Our people have been reduced to second-class citizenship under La République du Cameroon. But every revolution has both heroes and traitors. The Americans had George Washington, who endured, and Benedict Arnold, who betrayed. Ambazonia also has its George Washington, Dr. Samuel Ikomisako, President of the Federal Republic of Southern Cameroon's Ambazonia in exile. He has carried the mantle of leadership through storms and betrayals, holding firm to the vision of a free Ambazonia. Unlike America, we too have our Arnolds, Cho Ayaba, Sisiko Ayuktabe, Iya Marianta, Chris Anu, and Ebenezer Akwanger. Once seen as leaders of hope, they chose ambition and division instead. They are not alone. Many of our traditional fonts and chiefs have traded culture for titles. Colonial senators and parliamentarians have warmed their seats in Yaoundé while their communities bled. Cabinet members and administrators have lent Ambazonians names to a system designed to erase Ambazonia itself. And beyond politics, betrayal has echoed from the pulpits. Archbishop Andrew Nkwen has stood beside Yaoundé's officials, blessing a false union. Bishop Michael Bibi has discouraged public protests, calling the cry for freedom disorder. Reverend Samuel Funky has urged dialogue and unity, but too often dialogue on the occupiers' terms. These are not neutral acts. They confuse the faithful, weaken resistance, and give moral cover to oppression. But, fellow Ambazonians, history is unforgiving. Benedict Arnold won temporary favor with the British, but no honor. He died a man remembered only by his betrayal. So it will be. with Ambazonia's traders, politicians who chose titles over freedom, chiefs who chose stipends over culture, administrators who chose office over justice, and prelates who chose influence over truth. They will not be forgotten, but they will never be honored. Because revolutions belong to the people, not the few. Betrayal can delay freedom, but it cannot erase it. This has been the voice of Ambazonia, truth in resistance, clarity in crisis.
All right, Barrister Mbeseha. Dr. Mungwa feels Ambazonia has been, betrayed by almost everyone that should have stood in the gap for Ambazonia, including the prelates and archbishop. I wouldn't know if you would want to agree with the voice of Ambazonia on this one. What would you say?
I think Dr. Mungwa puts it so aptly that it becomes sometimes fun to look at those things. You see, the story he tells there is so true, so correct. You just take the bishop, the prelates, he calls them. Who are these prelates? He mentions a few, who include Andrew, Archbishop Andrew. They include Reverend Funky. These two people and others, most of them, come from very rural areas. They understand what has happened. They have lived there. They have seen the war affect their own families directly. But what do they do? For example, Funky, I'm told, is from Akwaya, where the road does not even reach there, where almost everybody in Akwaya has escaped to Nigeria as a refugee. I'm told that his own little house he built there was burnt down. But when he occupied the office of moderator of the church, Presbyterian church, he sat in the comfortable office of the Senate office far away in Boya, where everything was normal. But they knew all this never was going on. But with their cassock, they lied. What can we describe them collectively? All these religious people, they are cowards in cassocks. It's not that they didn't know. They know all those things. But they will not tell them the truth because they are so cowardly. They are not the Martin Luther Kings. Neither are they the Desmond Tutu of South Africa. They are not even Christian Toomey, who will say what it is as it is. But the way the cassocks and they go around in the name of religion, knowing the truth, refusing to stand up for the truth, and hiding in the name of religion. That's not what religion was meant to be. Religion was meant to defend the defenseless, most particularly Christianity that they all represent. And so that is what it is for those prelates collectively put together. Then you find the second group he has mentioned there, who call themselves chiefs and fawns. Chiefs and fawns are supposed to be custodians of the tradition. When you go to the market square, you can quickly recognize a chief or fawn by the traditional regalia that he wears. His dressing is unique, and his retinue is personal, is also unique. But what have these people done? They have failed the people. They represent nobody. And what did they do? They borrow money, or they are giving money to buy new robes, new regalia, and wear, and to take it to Yaoundé and say thank you to the oppressor for killing my own people. They were meant to protect themselves and the people, but they've abandoned the people, the majority of them, and they live thousands of miles away, but still hold on the crown of chiefs, still pretend to talk on behalf of the people. These are people, these are liars in gowns, these are liars in traditional garments. They are not chiefs and fawns by the understanding of the word. Never, never would it be. So they have failed us. They fail us, but the population is not with them. We are the population who have said no to them, and that no is final. They may never return in the form of chiefs. They can return like their family heads, but no longer as chiefs. They take the third group, which he calls politicians. Who are these politicians, if they are ever politicians? He mentions a few of them there. Ayuksisi Siku, Grisano, Marianta, and Akwanga, Ayaba, and others people. Could any of these people call themselves a politician? They are self-minted politicians. Activism is different from being a politician. What was the political constituency of Mr. Ayoktabe before this war? He had no political constituency. If he had one, it was a CPDM that perhaps helped him to get a job in Soledad. What was the political constituency of Apanga? Zero. Anu, zero. Marianta, zero. They were just activists, transformed into politicians. They have never been politicians, they know nothing about politics, they are just political adventurers. And because they are adventurers, they collapse. They fall into pieces, not very long after that, and they have no excuse for themselves. All of them are there. Nobody is defaming them. We're just saying the truth. We're just saying the truth of what they were. They thought they could mint themselves, or who thought they could mint them to politicians, transform them from activists to politicians. Activism is different from doing politics. Activists are rascals. They are controlled. They are noise makers that make the noise without any control. And politicians take the message and put bone to the flesh and act as politicians. So these are people who, by dint of whatever thing they did before, thought they were politicians. They were not politicians. But have we lost anything as Ambazonians? We have not lost much, though our progress has been delayed. We are standing fast and we are standing firm on what we do. And so this is what most revolutions go across. We found people in this revolution, in the name of politicians, claiming to give security briefings when they have no fighting force anywhere, claiming to become diplomats when they have never understood diplomacy, also claiming to be A, B, C that they know nothing about. That is the nature of a revolution. Imposters will come, sometimes ignorantly, sometimes skillfully put in place to derail the thing. But the most important thing is that we as Ambazonians, the reasonable Ambazonian, cannot see with their eyes open. They sleep with their eyes open. Their ears are open. They're able to identify. They're able to decipher the good from the bad. They're able to shift the chaff from the corn. And so we know these things. That's why we've not collapsed, in spite of all these shortcomings in the last 9 years. Again, in summary, we have not failed politically. If we failed politically, Yawne would have declared victory since 2019 and the battle would have been over. We have not failed religiously, because in spite of the fact that all these people stream the church into churches, be they Presbyterian churches, Baptist churches, Catholic churches on Sunday, they are not giving up. In spite of the failures of their leaders, called them prelates, the population has not given up on them, or on the struggle. Because at the end of the day, they are the center. It is you and me who go to church, who's at the center of the struggle. It is you and me, like those people in Batibo, who were shot and killed. I'm sure a good number of them were churchgoers. And so it doesn't matter where their church leader sees it or not, the truth shall prevail. And for the chiefs, I've said it again, most of the chiefs, if not all, have lost their value in terms of poverty. They have become beggars in terms of looking for jobs where they will get extra money, in terms of looking for bribes, which cause them nothing to do but other than to lie. Because come election day, I can guarantee you, a good number of those bishops, of those pastors, are going to vote against Paul Biya when they find that they are voting in the place where nobody will dictate them. They're sitting in somewhere in the ballot, in the polling station where nobody is seeing them. They will vote the truth in their mind. That shows that they are pure cowards. About the same chiefs, no matter what they say and do there, the majority of them, when given the opportunity, are going to vote no to the system because they know that nobody is seeing them. They can double deal, get money in the day and the night in the private room before they get the same regime. And then, of course, as for our brothers and sisters, the self-minted politicians I mentioned here, they've realized they've come to the end of their journey. Each of them come to the end of the journey by himself or by herself. I know that there is my own limit, and I can give a few examples. But remember, this started in 2016. And Akwanga, including Ayaba, when they pushed this, they said, look, these were green leaves. They could not be there, and then somebody else would take the leadership. Where are they? They have simply disappeared by themselves. Akwanga himself organized a press conference, told us publicly that he had given up the fight. He had called off the fight since 2019. He had called off the fight because the United Nations said there should be a ceasefire. That's what he said himself. Since then, his political adventure has ended. Even though he jump on board, if you hear that there's a conference somewhere, his goal is not to make peace, it's to reap for the conference. The stipends that go with attending conferences. And so they have taken themselves out. We don't need to talk about Ayaba, what he has done, and all of us know what he did. Where is he today? His minted color of a politician has literally faded. Talk less of Chris Ano. When Chris Ano 3 years ago said he would bring wonders, he would bring $1 million donors, he would bring the star, he would bring the moon, you fight up to the end. The last I heard of him was he saying that, well, I've come to the end of my own journey, I'm giving up at the end of September. No, we didn't send him out. He went out and said this with his own mouth. And so these are mental politicians who themselves disappear at the appropriate time. So we should not be discouraged, because Ambazonia is bigger than any of those people. Individually chiefs, individually prelates, individually politicians who are bigger than that. Ambazonia as a country shall prevail. No matter our size, no matter our economy, as predicted in Resolution 1514 of December 1960. We shall prevail, give independence to everybody, notwithstanding their size, notwithstanding their economy, notwithstanding their level of education. We're entitled to that, we're still entitled to that, and we'll get it. Notwithstanding the deceit from pastors, notwithstanding the deceit from funds and chiefs, notwithstanding the pretentiousness from minted politicians who have not yet delivered. God is with us, we shall prevail. Over to you.
All right, thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha. Meanwhile, on Saturday, Mr. Ta Padiking made an announcement concerning the presidential exclusive discussion that he will be having with President Sako on Wednesday. That was the date, but we are announcing a shift in the date, as the new date will be Thursday, Amber time, 8 p.m. All right, so the discussion will rally around the terrorists and all of those issues surrounding terrorism and all of that. And President Sako wants to, air his view and, clear out the air and give others a point of direction. So this is coming up on Thursday. So if you've been waiting, or if you've cleared your schedule for Wednesday, please, the announcement is for Thursday, 8 p.m. Amber time is the new date for the exclusive presidential interview with Mr. Tapadi King and the president. Barrister Mbeseha, the date has been shifted to Thursday, giving more time for publicity and for every other person involved to get ready and gear up. What are the directions you'll be expecting, or what are the things you'll be expecting the president to hit on as a matter of emphasis?
No, I don't know what the president will hit on, but I think he will hit on every single thing. And what I can do from my own point, is simply to encourage all of us to be there. Maybe I have questions, but I don't know what you think. Others have their own questions. Anybody who has an issue should try to lock in that day and ask your questions directly from the horse's own mouth. When the president gives answers, gives explanations, that's when I can take a cue from his explanations to elaborate on what he says. But as of now, I would think that the best thing for us to do, knowing what is ahead of us, knowing what we've gone through, all of us should tune in, ask questions if you have, listen for clarifications if you need them. Because, again, I've said, Ambazonia is bigger than all of us, every single individual. But until you understand where you're coming from, you will not know where you're going to. So the president will do his best, I think, to explain those things. And those who doubt them, they are encouraged to come there and ask questions. Not to hide behind your laptop, not to hide in your pigeonhole and criticize. Criticism is wanted, they are important, but listening to others is also the most important thing. So that when you want to criticize, understand what the other position is before criticizing. Don't be a critic without listening to why something is being done. There are so many things that will require explanation, some of which are so simple to understand. I've heard people, let me just give this as an example. I've heard people around, oh, there's nothing like ASA, oh, there's all the unity warriors, all this. They don't simply understand the rationale between the ASA. A country owns an army. Then battalions are named in different ways. Different battalions have different names. Call it the unity warriors, they can become a battalion. But it's important for you to fall under the umbrella of your national army. That national army, whether it is fighting in the east or in the west, in the south or in the middle, owe allegiance to the government. Where those specialized battalions, or whatever thing you call them, some are militarized, some have intelligence, some have whatever thing, they are fighting for the same cause. The rationale for Ambazonia state army. Because when it comes to time, if there must be negotiations, and they need to hear from the defense, no negotiation will go around and say, okay, bring me 10 representatives from the unity warriors, bring me 10 representatives from the Red Dragons. That has never happened in the world. They would come under the umbrella of Ambazonia state army. That will be able to give advice, legal, military advice. That's the rationale for just calling yourself Ambazonia State Army. Doing something in Gold Kotunja, doing something in Bui, in the BLM, or anywhere else. That's the rationale. That idea was not meant to help somebody else. It's meant to help our cause. I have also heard people claim and argue, oh, there's no government, as if the name government was adding anything to anybody. The idea of the government of Ambazonia was to put an end to the speculations. The assumption that they have nobody to talk to. There's a government, go and talk to the government of Ambazonia. We did not start a government. In 1961, Resolution 1608 said, let the government of Cameroon, the government of Southern Cameroon, and the government of the UK sit down. They say government. So we must have a semblance of that government that will come to the table. It's not intended to take anything from you. It's intended just to give you the idea that we are existing. And the last, but not the least, which makes me to laugh. I heard people call, oh, this Akko man, he likes the name presidency, oh, honorable, his excellency. And so what? What does calling me excellency or honorable change in me? Or in President Sako? Absolutely nothing. But the strategy is this. If before they can call Mr. Paul Biya, Excellency President Paul Biya, what is wrong in calling your own presidency Excellency? What is wrong with that? Is that why she get you angry? Is that why she get you disturbed? Who match your own presidency, His Excellency President Paul Biya, with our own presidency, our Excellency President Sako? As simple as good morning. It doesn't hurt you, sir. It doesn't hurt you, madam. Where you're thinking code, where you're listening code, where you're learning code. We prefer to learn where you don't know. Ask questions if you don't understand why something is being done. It doesn't hurt you to ask questions. It doesn't hurt you to understand. It only hurts you. It only helps you to be a better fighter, to be a better defender of the cause. I think the president will have time to explain all this if they come up. But I just thought I should use these examples for people to know what it is all about. Over to you.
Right, so Barrister Mbeseha has given the foundation for Thursday. So Thursday, all Ambazonians in diaspora and in the home front, you're enjoined to join the conversation with President Samuel Ikomen on Thursday by 8 p.m. Amber time. It's an exclusive discussion you do not want to miss. All right. So thank you so much, Barrister Mbeseha, for being with us today. When you are here, it's easier to understand and to expatiate on some of these troubles that Ambazonians on the home front go through. Thank you so much for being here. See you tomorrow.
Thank you for having me, and over to you.
You're welcome. And right after the break, we'll head straight to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where the WHO is launching Ebola vaccination drive in what they have said to be a new outbreak. A new Ebola outbreak has been declared in the Democratic Republic of the Congo's Kasai province, the country's first in 3 years. In response to, the World Health Organization (WHO) has begun vaccinating frontline health workers and contacts of confirmed cases in Bulape, the outbreak's epicenter. An initial 400 doses of the Batibo vaccine have been delivered from a national stockpile, with 45,000 additional doses approved for shipment by the International Coordinating Group on Vaccine Provision. So far, the outbreak has resulted in 32 suspected cases, including 20 confirmed and 16 deaths. According to the DRC Military of Health, concerns are rising as the virus has been reached across 70 kilometers from Bulabe, prompting warnings about its potential spread, particularly to neighboring Angola. WHO has classified the regional attacks as moderate, but health officials fear that delay in response could worsen the situation rapidly. The outbreak is highlighting the vulnerabilities in Africa's public health systems, especially in regions with limited resources and challenging terrain. Despite past experiences with Ebola, including the West Africa epidemic of 2014 and 2016, many health systems remain fragile. Aid workers and health officials have raised alarms about declining intentional support and reduced funding, which could hinder efforts to control the outbreak. African institutions, including the African Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, Africa CDC, are coordinating efforts to contain the virus. Measures include border surveillance, public awareness campaigns, and mobilization of rapid response teams. Experts stress that Ebola is not just a DRC issue, but a continental threat, and that strong regional cooperation is essential for preparedness and containment. With the vaccination campaign underway, health officials remain hopeful but cautious. They emphasize that timely action is critical to prevent further spread. WHO and African leaders are calling for increased global support to help manage the outbreak and strengthen long-term disease response infrastructure across the continent. And when we come back right after the break, Netanyahu is defending Qatar's strike and is vowing for continuous pursuit of Hamas leaders. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu has signaled that Israel will continue to get senior Hamas figures beyond its borders following a controversial strike last week in Qatar that drew widespread international condemnation. Speaking at a joint press conference in Jerusalem with U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Netanyahu declared that Hamas leaders would not enjoy immunity wherever they are. He says that every country has a right to defend itself beyond its borders. Netanyahu said defending the operation that reportedly killed 6 people in Doha, though Hamas leadership is believed to have survived. The Israeli strike in Qatar, a key U.S. ally in the Gulf, triggered outrageous across the region and new shape criticisms from the U.S. President Donald Trump, who warned of escalating instability in the Middle East. Despite tensions, Netanyahu insisted the operation was carried out independently. We did it on our own, he told journalists, dismissing speculation over U.S. involvement in the operation. The targeting of Hamas leaders on Qatari soil marks a significant escalation in Israel's long-standing conflict with the militant group and has strained relations with key regional and Western allies. Meanwhile, Dubai continues to assert itself as a dominant economic force in the region with abundant natural resources and a rapidly expanding non-oil economy. The Emirates has made significant strides in foreign trade, tourism, real estate, technology, and artificial intelligence. Backed by stable leadership and proactive governance, Dubai's diversification efforts have positioned it as a leading hub for innovation and investment in the Middle East, signaling a shift from traditional oil dependency towards a future built on sustainable economic pillars. That's it for news across the globe, and that's where we draw the curtains on tonight's Unjointed. But before we go, let's take a look at the major stories. Tonight on Undaunted, we told you that a man has been killed and a car set ablaze at Mile 4 Nkwen today. Also, we told you that a corpse has been found and abandoned near St. Mary Soledad Catholic Hospital in Bamenda. We told you that there has been a deadly blast outside Colonial Brigade in Batibo and it leaves multiple people dead. Also, from the Voice of Ambazonia, it said today that chiefs, politicians, and prelates are against Ambazonian freedom. On the African scene, we went to the Democratic Republic of Congo, where WHO is launching Ebola vaccination. And on the global scene, we told you that Netanyahu is defending Qatar's strike and has vowed to continue. That's it for tonight's Undaunted, bringing into the news untold stories on behalf of Barrister Mbeseha and a team of technicians behind tonight's production. It's good night and God bless.